everybody from the captain down on the ship was doing coke. This is the 80s.
Yeah.
This is like greed is good. And so you put your finger on the $5 bill.
Yep.
You put your hand like that on top and
And
you go, here you go, here's your change. Hold the $5 bill and push the 15.
And the drunken, distracted
They're so distracted
patron.
by the boob and by the girl. We had private clients that we got like $20,000-$30,000 out of in one day. Like one was an Australian travel agent.
Today, I had a conversation with Corinne Hofstrand, talking about some of the things she's done in her wild life. It's an interesting chat that we had. She talks about how, as a 19-year-old girl on her way to New York to study at a prestigious acting school, she got distracted by a young surfer in Hawaii. She fell in love and she never became an actor. We also talked about how she started working in bars in Hawaii, dressed in a bunny suit, which then led to her stripping, dealing drugs, and how she spent time in prison in Australia following a huge drug bust. That's just part of her story. She also studied to become a nurse and worked in ICU units. She continued dealing party drugs and hung out with characters in that world. We also talked about her time managing brothels and massage parlours, and I got an education in what it involves working in a BDSM club. We had a bit of fun. There were lots of laughs, but we also had some serious discussions about drugs and the sex industry, and a lot of things I didn't expect to be talking about on I Catch Killers. Welcome to I Catch Killers.
Thank you.
Well, I found out about you because our producer here on I Catch Killers said, hey, you got to check this lady out on Instagram and TikTok and posts that you were doing on social media, and we had a bit of a deep dive and said, hey, we've got to get you in on I Catch Killers. So I'm very excited about sitting down and having a chat with you. I'm not sure where the conversation is going to take us, but it'll be fun and interesting, I suggest.
Thank you. I hope so. Let's see.
Okay.
Let's see what happens.
Well, you've had, reading your life and from the research that we've done and your life, you've lived a full life.
I have. I always say the only thing I haven't done that I really want is I want to win an Academy Award for Best Original Screenplay. That's what I want to do. But first of all, I've got to write a screenplay.
Yeah, that's probably just the thing that's holding you back a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, I can't talk on screenplays, but books, you definitely got a book in your stories.
Yeah, if you get a book, you get a screenplay.
Okay,
So,
okay, we'll start writing, and when we'll be finished shortly, and you can start putting pen to paper and get the story. Highs and lows. You've been lived over in Hawaii. You have worked as a waitress, ended up as a stripper. Then you've got into drugs. Drugs has taken hold of you. You started dealing drugs. You've done time in prison. You managed brothels and all sorts of places, massage parlours.
Yep.
Very different type of life, living outside. And let's call them probably too offensive saying the straighty 180s, but the normal life. What steered you into that type of lifestyle?
Was probably because I never really lived a straight life. Yeah. I mean, my father was in the acting community, and I had a million uncles.
Yeah.
Like when in the 50s and 60s and 70s, when it wasn't cool to be gay, there was a lot of uncles in the acting industry.
Yes.
And so I've kind of never really lived a straight life.
Right.
It's always been a little left to centre, even though my mother and father never did anything wrong. I've never lived like my mother was a pharmacist, my father was an actor, and also owned, in the old days, owned a truck company and then did real estate. Okay. So that's about as straight as we got, you know. Yeah. And he was having an affair with his secretary. So that's kind of really, and which I knew about. Okay. So that's about as straight as my life got. So other than nursing, I don't think my life's ever been that straight. And nursing was overtaken by my, in inverted commas, addiction to cocaine. Yeah. So that's why I got out of nursing and went on ships where cocaine was more prevalent. So I could do it more often.
Okay, and I suppose, and we're going to dive deep into that, into the world of drugs, but also it was, during that time, it was experimental. People were trying it in the world that you were mixing. It was the norm?
In Hawaii?
Yep.
Yeah, because that's where I got into, like, when I was 12 and a half,
yeah.
I did a hit of acid here
Right.
in Australia. But my drug days didn't start until Hawaii when I was 19. Right?
How did you get into acid at 12 and a half?
Well, just because I went to a private school and people did that.
Okay.
Who knows? I don't know. Well,
Yeah.
it's just a thing we did. I know. I did acid before I had a joint. It was just very strange.
Yeah,
I know.
normally you start
And went
smoking, had a little
I know.
drink, and then...
at 15, At 15, I was going to a place called Joseph's Coat,
Yep.
which was down in Piermont, and we were all doing acid down there. Nobody was smoking joints in my group. We were all doing acid.
Okay, just
some reason.
bypass the dope.
Yeah, well, we did that on the side,
Yeah.
but that was not the big thing. The big thing was acid. I don't know why. Anyway, but my main drug thing came in Hawaii, where cocaine
Yeah.
was real cocaine,
Okay.
where it came straight from South America.
Right.
Like, I had a dealer friend who got on a plane, literally with a bag full of money, like
Yeah.
a suitcase full of money, went to LAX, dropped the bag over to the guy who picked up his suitcase and came back.
Right.
So it was pink, off the rock, South American cocaine.
Hadn't been cut down.
Hadn't been cut down, nothing. So that's the kind of cocaine we were doing here in Australia. Now, when I was living in Hawaii, I used to come home every 2 years.
Yeah.
And when I came home for the first time after the 2 years, my best friend was on heroin, but, we won't go there. I would find some coke somewhere. And it was like, I'm like, really?
What's this stuff?
What is this? Yeah. So the next time I came over, I bought some with me.
Right.
So that they could see what real stuff was like.
Okay.
So.
In all the different stages of your life, whether it was in Hawaii, when it was living here in Australia, what was the high of your life? What do you look back and think that was a great period of life?
Probably moving to Hawaii.
Yeah.
I think that really, because I've never been an Australian fan per se.
Yeah.
Because I have, again, going back to my father, I have a father who was an Australiana freak. If it wasn't for my father, I'd probably be an American citizen now. But he said he'd disown me if I became an American citizen when I married an American.
Yeah.
But moving to Hawaii was probably, to be honest, probably the highlight of my life, because while living in Hawaii, I got my degrees.
Yep.
I worked on cruise liners, like the best job in the world. That would be the highlight of highlights.
Yeah.
And had a great life, So that, even though, because my, in inverted commas again, addiction to cocaine, which I never saw as an addiction right until the end,
when it got
when it got really bad. But the rest of the time it was like, oh, we're going out, let's do something.
It was your party drug.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, and you mentioned your father, and just to put the listeners in so they understand, he played Bob Hatfield on the Country Practice.
That's right.
And that's, pre-pay TV and everything else.
Yeah.
That was a huge show in Australia, and I think at 30 countries across the world, and he was one of the main characters.
Yeah, it was. But the thing is that was his part.
Yeah.
That's what he was remembered for.
Yeah.
But he also... The first thing I ever saw my father do was when I was about 6 or 7 years old, and it was a swing soft drink ad. It's a swing soft drink, man, knocking at your door with the soft drink service you've been waiting for. Swing soft drinks. That's what my father was to me.
Okay.
And then all my life, he did community theatre, he did ads, he did stuff on ABC TV, he did with Leonard Teal, who was also a really big actor who we called Uncle Len. He did what were the first, videos.
Yep.
So they were what were called fill-ins on ABC. So between 6:25 and 6:30, when Bellbird started, they used to do a music video.
Right.
Dad would do the filming, and Uncle Len would do the music. There'd be a poem or something to it. They'd do some sort of story to it with Uncle Len's voice.
Leonard Teal, he was a big actor in his time too, wasn't he?
Huge.
Homicide, I think.
Homicide. was his big one,
Yeah.
his really big one. So Dad was in Homicide, Riptide, Water Rats, all of them, everything. But what happened was, after Mum died, when my mother died very early. My mother died when she was 44 of cancer of the bladder.
Right.
So that was in 1981. And Dad, in 1980, when she said, no more, I'm not doing any more treatments or anything, I'm just going to go. So he stopped working in 1980 and started writing a book on Ben Hall, who he's one of Australia's authorities on.
Yeah.
Now, all this time, I'm in Hawaii, right? I'm not here in Australia. And then in 1981, I came over to look after my mother for the last 2 months of her life because I was an ICU nurse. And when I went back in the July. I stayed until after their wedding anniversary. I went back in the July. He called me in the October. I remember it so well. All my life he's been an actor, right?
Yeah.
But he calls me in the October and I'm in bed and I'm watching Johnny Carson, 10 o'clock at night. And he goes, oh, hi, my nickname, never knew my real name. My nickname's Bugs. He goes, oh, hi, Bugs. Just letting you know, I've got a part in a new show. And I said, oh, yeah, what is it? Here am I thinking. He goes, oh, it's about a country doctor. I'm like, okay, here we go. It's All Creatures Great and Small. It's on Channel 2. And, way to go, Dad. And he goes, oh, it's called A Country Practice. I said, okay, well, good on you. Like that's how it is. So 2 years later, because I come back every 2 years, I came back to my father at the airport with about 30 people around him trying to get his autograph and me standing over here going, Dad, hi,
here, Dad.
hi. And so then I kind of realised that he had the part that my mother had been praying for all her life,
Well, that's it was a different time, wasn't it? Like you had your movie stars, but the TV stars were big, especially
huge.
in this country. And a show like that, it ran for years, and one of the main characters. I've asked the best time in your life, your years in Hawaii. Worst time in your life.
Worst time, worst day was the first day in jail.
Right.
I retract that. Worst time, worst day was the first time in the SPC cells.
They're even worse than the jails. Yeah.
100% worse.
Yeah.
1,000% worse. Because I was busted on a long weekend on the Queen's birthday, what was the Queen's birthday long weekend, on the 8th of June 1991. So I was in those cells.
You got the pleasure of staying down there?
Saturday, Sunday and Monday. Didn't get out to Malawa until the Tuesday. Because I had a bail hearing. I think I had a bail hearing either on the Sunday or the Monday. It must have been on the Sunday because don't they have to do it within a certain amount of time? Yeah. I'm pretty sure. It was a ridiculous thing anyway. They weren't going to let me go anywhere.
You're not the first person to sit in that chair and complain about the cells at the SPC. It's oppressive, no light.
Bad.
It's like a bunker.
Doing things they shouldn't be doing, and then the shower from memory was, I don't know what it's like now, but the shower from memory was out in the open, like there was nothing. There was no privacy whatsoever. So I would say, yes, that would be the worst. At the same time, realising what was happening.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't drunk or high or anything, because I was just out of bed when they came in.
Yeah.
And so it was after I'd been interrogated for 10 hours or 8 hours, then I go down into these cells, into this hellhole, and then the realisation, and never being in jail before and never being around these kind of people before, because the people I dealt with were, Oxford Street gays. I mean, they weren't these people. And I was like, oh, my God, this is what it's going to be like. Yeah. This is what however long is going to be like. And so that was probably the worst day.
Okay. Well, it's highs and lows in life. You haven't lived a flatline life.
No.
It's definitely had its ups and downs.
Yeah.
Now, we'll put a disclaimer out here because I know in the conversation I've had with you and sitting down with you now, you're very forthright in your opinions and your comments and the life that you've lived. And if there's people shocked by what we talk about or discussions, my thought is that, we want to take people in a true crime podcast into the world of crime, and that involves in drugs and the sex industry and jail and all that. So people might be shocked, but I just want people to understand that you've come in here very kindly and you're going to tell us about your life.
Yeah, that's right.
I find fascinating.
Thanks. It's been a life. I mean, people say to me, like, you've led a life. And I'm like, yeah. And I remember going to I was born and raised in Bankstown.
Yeah.
So I went to Bankstown West Public School, and then I went to Merredin Ladies College. So we never had a really stable, what people would think of as stable Bankstown family life.
Well, I suppose that it exposes you to other things in life that a lot of people don't get exposed to their whole life.
Well, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
On my 18th birthday, I have a photo of my father and mother and me standing at the back of our Bankstown house next to the barbecue smoking a joint. That's just how it was.
Okay. Well, did you enjoy your childhood?
I had a great childhood.
Yeah.
I really had a great childhood. I really until Dad started the affair.
Yep. Life was
great.
good. Yep.
It was fantastic. And that killed my mother. That didn't kill me. That didn't kill my brother. That killed my mother. She idolized my father.
Yeah.
My grandmother, who I idolised, who I cry over every day, she hated my father for what he did to her.
Yeah.
I mean, but, it was their marriage, it wasn't mine.
Yeah, yeah.
But that took a lot to get over.
It's life. There's pain with the joy, isn't there, on that? Now, at 19, I think you got an inheritance from an uncle or something?
No, from my auntie.
So at 19, I think it was 19 when you went to Hawaii, you were going over there to an acting school? Was that?
No, I had a letter of introduction in New York.
Right.
To the Stella Adler studios. Stella Adler was an actor.
Okay.
From my father. But a girlfriend of mine, Sandra, was going to Hawaii. She'd already been there. She'd met this guy named Mark. She was in love with him. And I said, oh, well, I'll stop off in Hawaii with you. Now, in those days, so I've already got the inheritance. And in those days, $1 Australian was worth $2 American.
Okay.
Very unlike today.
So you were rich.
I was, I had some money behind me.
Yeah.
So anyway, I was on my way to New York. I'll stop off in Hawaii with you. He lived in a penthouse, which was in what's called the Hippie Hilton on Seaside Avenue, which was like a 4-story 1930s building with this huge lanai, which is a patio, and huge, beautiful apartment for those days, right? And so Sandra was going over because she was in love with him, and she'd sold up all the stuff, and she was on her way to see Mark. Well, Sandra went home.
Did Mark end up your husband?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So Sandra went home after a month.
Yeah.
I didn't end up in Stella Adler Studios, and I ended up marrying Mark back here 2 years later.
Okay. So what attracted you to Mark?
Probably his looks.
Yeah.
And the fact he lived in Hawaii.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He was a semi-pro surfer and a chef. Not a chef, but not a certified chef, but a chef. You know what I mean?
So he would have been a big thing in Hawaii.
He was a big thing.
Yeah.
He had long blonde hair, really good looking, from New York. He looked like one of the guys from Big Wednesday, Jan Michael Vincent.
Oh, right.
So he was the exact replica of Jan Michael Vincent, for anybody who knows who he is.
One of my favourite movies, Big Wednesday.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So anyway, I have photos from when they were making it, actually, because I used to have a really good camera, and I was out there on the North Shore, and I actually took photos of Reno Abalera, who was in Big Wednesday as one of the surfers.
He was playing one.
Right.
Yeah.
And my photos were on the wall of his surf shop.
Oh, cool. Okay.
I know. They were made into posters.
Well, I can see that you were 19 at the time.
Yeah.
So a 19-year-old girl travelling from Australia on her way to New York got sidetracked, and you ended up in a relationship with him, and that's when you started. Did you start using drugs at that stage, or
we was just smoking coke, just smoking pot?
Yeah.
I mean, really, anybody in Hawaii. Yeah. From the age of 5 to 105 smoked marijuana.
Yeah.
It was the thing. Everybody did it. Coke was, again, the thing you did on the weekend if you really wanted to. You didn't really need to, because there was a drug around at that time called Quaaludes.
Right.
And Quaaludes were really big. And so you got the Quaaludes from a doctor.
Yep.
And they were
prescription or
prescription.
Under
No,
from
the prescription.
Counter. Yeah.
And they were, I don't know what they were really used for. I think they were used as a sleeping tablet.
Yeah.
they had to be a sleeping tablet because you took a half and you were like nodding off
You're
kind
out.
of thing. But that was the big drug.
Yeah.
So you did your pot during the week, and then you went out and you dance on them and stuff like that. It was something that is not around anymore. I can't describe a drug that would be around. I've never taken a Rohypnol, so I don't know what that effect. But the effect that I hear about with Rohypnol is you black out.
Yeah.
With Quaaludes, you didn't black out. You knew exactly what you were doing. You were just a bit loose on your feet.
Yeah.
You know, you did have a few drinks with Rohypnol, with Quaaludes, versus with ecstasy, right? But they were the drugs. So Coke just was another on the sideline kind of thing. It wasn't until much later in life, like I'm talking until I got I was nursing and until I got on the ships, that my Coke use actually got out of control.
Is that the point in time when you realise that this is detrimental? It's not enhancing my life. It's
what, Coke?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't even realise it.
Right.
My
people around you.
Yeah, people around me. And the guy who I actually ended up marrying after Mark, Chris, actually pushed me onto the plane to get me back here to straighten me up.
To get away from it.
Because literally I was on the plane and I must have looked terrible.
Yeah.
I really must have looked terrible. And I had a black dress on. I remember having a black dress on and I had sweat marks like this.
Right.
And so I was stopped by customs.
Yeah.
In my suitcase, so my father was in a country practice by this time. In my suitcase was a picture of Dad.
Yep.
So anyway, he's going through the suitcase. He comes across a photo of my father. He said, "Who's this?" I said, "My father." And he put the photo of my father back down and closed the suitcase and said, "Go on through."
That was handy.
Very handy. Then I got home and found a gram in my wallet.
Well, okay. Well, you're in an Australian prison. I think it might be a little bit better than American prison, but I'm not sure. We'll talk about that further. So you lived a lot of time in Hawaii, and you're working as a cocktail waitress dressed in a bunny suit.
Yep. Just
okay.
Literally,
talk us through that.
Okay. So the first job I had in Hawaii, this is before I was legally allowed to work.
Yeah.
This is prior to Mark and I being married. When that first visit was going on. And then I went back every 3 months after my visa ran out. I went back 4 times before we got married. I was doing trucking, delivering furniture. That was the illegal job, in inverted commas. Then when I got my residency, I was working in a strip joint called El Morocco on Kalakaua. I lived on Seaside, and off Seaside is Kalakaua. Kalakaua is the main street of Waikiki.
Yep.
So unlike the strip joints here, very much unlike the strip joints here, people had to sit down. They had to have a drink. There was cocktail waitresses walking around getting the drinks. They couldn't stand up. They couldn't get near the stage, all that kind of stuff. The strippers did one song dressed in their little teddies or whatever they had on, 2 songs topless, 1 song bottomless.
Yep.
So I was walking around getting the drinks, and also it was a hustle. Now, in the Korean War, pre my time, I'm old but not that old, they had B-girl bars. And what B-girl bars were bars where girls would come up and sit down with you and go, "Hi, how are you?" Rub your leg and do all that. "Oh, would you like to buy me a drink?" And then what the cocktail waitresses, were on the alert for was a sign of some description that he wants to buy her a drink. And the drink started at $2 and ended up to whatever they have in their wallet.
So the poor dumb blokes that are sitting there thinking, "Oh, this lady's interested in me," and she's giving a sign to the waitresses.
The waitress, that's right.
We've got one
and
here.
And then if they spend enough, then, "Oh, darling, why don't we go in the booth?"
Yeah.
So the booth was literally a booth.
Yeah.
Like a banquette. And there was 4 or 5 of them, right? And you got the big spenders, or what you hoped would be a big spender, in there. And in there went a little bit further, like they touched their boob or something like that. Nothing big.
Yeah.
Nothing like, because it was not allowed.
Was this, these are legal clubs? This is all
absolutely
all
legal. This is on the main
yeah.
strip of Waikiki.
Yeah.
This is absolutely legal.
Yeah.
But there was security guards walking around all the time. So none of the girls could do any action that you might find in a private situation, right? But they could have their breasts touched and stuff like that. Yeah. But if they were within the bra and the security guard came by, you'd see the hand go away.
Right.
But that cost, darling, to go back there, it's $100. So then they'd get the $100.
Yeah.
And then me as a cocktail waitress would bring, so say it was an $80 drink, right? Yeah. So me as a cocktail waitress would bring the $20 change back in a 10 and 2 5s and have a 5 underneath stuck onto the cocktail tray with my finger on it. Right. So only $15 would come off, so I'd get $5.
Hold it, run that past me again.
Okay, so you get $20 change. Yeah. You fan it out.
Within 5. Yeah.
10 and 2 5s. Yeah. And then the cocktail tray is always wet.
Yeah.
Always, because of the drinks. Yeah. And so you put your finger on the $5 bill.
Yep.
You put your hand like that on top and you go, here you go, here's your change. Hold the $5 bill and push the 15.
And the drunken, distracted
They're so distracted
patron.
by the boob. And by the girl.
Yeah.
And then the next step after that was, there's an upstairs.
Yep.
But that's going to cost $200. Like, you could tell them any price. I'm just coming out with these prices. So there's an upstairs.
Yeah.
But you got to pay for it now. So the $200 drink had come out. Now, the girls could drink water, Sprite, half and half, which is half champagne, half water, or half champagne and half Sprite, or champagne. But the girls who drank full champagne the bartenders were on alert to them all the time.
Right.
To how good or bad they were, because there was laws, you know. And so there was no upstairs. Upstairs was Marge's office. Marge was the owner.
Yeah.
So no, there was no upstairs. Oh, darling, the guy is just taking forever, We just can't go up right now. And then by the time you hustled him...
They're plastered.
They're plastered and the money's gone. I'm here tomorrow night. Come back tomorrow night.
Yeah.
And we'll get up there for sure. And hopefully they come back the next night and do the same thing.
Or he's gone home and thought...
or they've got no
trouble.
money.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's an interesting world. You started off there, but you ended up stripping because the money was better. Talk us through the process there.
So, Mark, my husband, I will always be very thankful to him in a way, if that's the word. So there was a girl that I used to work with, and at the time I was going to school for nursing as well. And I was making good money. I was making like now you're talking the 70s, so I was making like $200 a night in tips, which would be
as a waitress.
As a waitress, which would be like, I don't know, $1,000 now.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Equivalent
to.
Yeah.
And the strippers were making $1,000 a night.
Okay.
For not doing anything.
I want a piece of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I was a tall, leggy, good-looking person. I was a size 6 on a 5'11" frame. I mean, Jesus Christ, Anyway.
You passed the audition.
Yeah, I passed the audition. And so I went home to Mark and I said, I think I'm going to start stripping.
Yep.
And he said, okay, right, well, because we had an open relationship. So it wasn't like we were like this husband and wife, Yeah. So I started stripping, did the audition, which they already knew me. Yeah. So, you do an audition as to whether or not you can actually dance and whether or not you can actually strip.
Yep.
Did the audition and started working and did that.
And how long did you do that for?
I waitressed for 2 years and I waitressed for 2 years and I probably stripped for about 4.
Right.
4 going into 5 because I did my 2 degrees while I was doing it. But you have to understand that there was a time in that last 4 years that I was actually nursing as well. So it's one of those jobs you can go back to.
Okay.
So I went back to it.
So
you know what I mean?
Back to the stripping or back to the nursing?
Back to the stripping.
Okay.
No. Went into nursing. Yeah. Oh, I don't have to do this anymore.
Yeah. And then you can step away from it.
Yeah, step away from it. And you do a couple of nights here and there.
How did you find stripping? Was it exciting for
easy.
you?
It wasn't exciting. Yeah. I just wanted to, because during the night there was literally 15 girls on work.
Yeah.
So there's only so many times a night you have to strip.
Okay.
Like twice.
Yeah.
On one of the if you're on a day shift, then that's where you get to strip more because there's only 4 or 5 of you on a day shift. Yeah. But then again, the money can be so much better because there's less people and there's those guys that are just walking along because their wives are shopping. They've got nothing to do for 3 hours but come in and see me. So I used to like days better. Right, and so on the weekend days was good.
That was the time.
That was the time. But because I'm such a talker, it came easy to me to do the B-girl hustle. Yeah. And I had some of the best trainers. I had this girl who was from Vietnam. Yeah. So I'm like early 20s. Yeah. She was old, and she was like nearly 40. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah, yeah. And she taught me everything she knew, and she was amazing. Because she was in Korea in the B-girl times and in Vietnam in the B-girl times there apparently. So
learning the trade with all the armed forces.
She taught me everything. And then we had private clients that we got like $20,000, $30,000 out of in one day. Like one was an Australian travel agent, I remember. That was a bad one. Anyway.
Well, I look at that, and we talk about the men and the women doing that. It's almost like some people might say it's exploiting women.
No.
Others might say it's exploiting men. I'm interested to get your take on it because that's how I quite look at it. Well, the women are the ones that are in control in that situation.
Exactly, 100%. It's still to this day that way. Yeah. Everybody has this opinion or this idea that everybody who's in the sex industry, no matter what part of the sex industry, is there under duress. Yeah. You're talking about a minor 1% who you will find in certain areas. That's where that happens.
Where they've been forced into it. Yeah.
They're not forced in it in a lot of other places. Yeah. There are, if you go into these places, you can tell 100% of the time whether those girls are there happily or not happily. Yeah. If they're not happy, that something's been taken from them.
Does the sisterhood look after the ones that are not happy in that environment? Like if you had one that you think, well, you're just not cut out for this. Well,
it's not the one; it's the place. It's the place itself. Yeah. There are places where there are government-run and non-government-run institutions that go to these places and also go to the girls and try to give them as much information as possible about things.
Like, where it might take it to the next level where they're virtually obliged to have sex if it came down to that. That's where it's taking 100%. It too far.
But that's in that certain area.
Okay. Take us into the stripper locker room or change rooms, dressing room. When you're sitting there, you said there's 15 girls and there's only one on stage at the time. What's the conversation like?
The conversation's like, I wonder if there's going to be a big whale in today.
Did you make friendships in that environment, like the girls that you're working with and all that? You share the common bond?
Yeah. I actually have a photo of all of us together. Somebody was leaving. I can't remember who was leaving, and we were out for lunch. I should have bought it. It's a really good photo. But yeah, we were all friends. I mean, once we're out of the club, it's not like we socialised that much. All the cocktail waitresses were female, so I sort of hung out with cocktail waitresses because they were more like afterwards. Because they were more my type because. We went surfing and everything.
Doing other things.
Doing other things.
Was there a stigma for you in that? In being a stripper, you weren't...
Nobody knew.
Right, okay.
You walked in dressed and you walked out dressed. Yeah. Nobody knew. My grandmother, when my grandmother came over, my grandmother was the light of my life.
Right? Okay, this is interesting.
And my grandmother came over with my aunt, who's still alive. Mm. And I was, at that time, stripping. Yeah. And we knew it was happening, right? Yeah. And they wanted to see where I was working.
Right. That's a bit hard.
Mark said, okay, well, we'll go down at 8 o'clock or whatever. Yeah. So I went up to Marge and I said, Marge, my grandmother and my aunt are coming in at 8 o'clock and I'd like to be cocktail waitressing because I still have my outfit. Yeah. And she said, yeah, no problem. So Nana and Jan came in. Yeah. And I was cocktail waitressing with Mark. Yep. They watched a couple of strippers do the stripping, saw that it was all nice and, neat and tidy and above board and on Kalakaua. And then left and then I got changed and went up and started B-girl barring again.
Okay. Well, it's a different experience. The working as a stripper, a cocktail waitress, and also studying to be a nurse.
Yep.
It's two different types of work. What did you always want to be a nurse? And the stripping, was that to subsidise the study? Was that it was money driven?
It wasn't money driven. It was, Corinne, get a job that you kind of don't really have to think about because you're thinking about nursing. You know what I mean?
So switch off. You're not. Yeah.
I'm not really. I don't want to be.
Use your brain.
I don't even want to be a waitress in a restaurant.
Yeah.
Because that's too much like hard work.
Yeah.
You know, in the middle of Kalakaua, I mean, in Waikiki, and just no. I can do this and sit down when it's not busy and relax. And if I don't feel like working, if for some reason I'm having an off day and I don't feel like working, all I have to do is turn up for the shift.
Yep.
Not make any money, and they give you $50 anyway.
Okay.
Because you were turned up for work, right? So, and for your time stripping. So it was just, it was a way to be more relaxed of a night because I went to college in the day.
Because you apply yourself at study.
Yeah.
With making that $1,000 a day, what some big days, some small days? It just depends.
Yeah,
what did you call them? The whale? If there's a whale big whale, and that's a cashed up.
My biggest day, I remember my biggest day in those days was $3,600.
Right.
Which
huge
would be
money
huge
now.
now. And he was a guy who was over in Hawaii. He was young. He was like in his early 30s.
Yeah.
And he was over in Hawaii trying to get his marriage back together. Yeah. But he'd come over to Hawaii. His wife had left him.
Yeah.
He was from Seattle, Washington. And his wife, it's funny how things you remember. And his wife had left him in Seattle, Washington months before.
Okay.
This was around Christmas time. It was around my birthday, so November. And anyway, he came to Hawaii and she left him with the baby. They had a 1 year old.
And when you say left, not just gone home, like as in see you later.
Yeah. Left him with the baby.
Yeah.
So he bought tickets for Hawaii for himself and the baby and her.
Yeah.
She never turned up.
Yeah.
So he'd been in Hawaii for a week by himself with the child, and he gave the child to a babysitter for the day.
Yeah.
I was working day shift,
right.
the Saturday day shift, the ones that were the good ones. And he came in and he said to me, I know exactly what goes on in here.
Yeah.
You don't have to tell me. Let's just go for it.
Let's
just go into the banquet. Let's not even worry about the front. And I was like, ka-ching. And he turned out to be one of the loveliest guys I've ever met in my life.
Yeah.
Spent all his money on me that he was going to spend on his wife, that he didn't spend on his wife.
Okay, so that was sort of his revenge way.
I think so. I think so. He gave me a Hopi Indian bracelet for my birthday that he had on. He just gave it to me.
Yeah.
And then after he left, with no regrets, he just said, that's enough, let's just leave it at this. He came back and there's a security guard, there was a walkway and a security guard standing at the top, and I said to the security guard, whatever his name was, is going to bring his baby back, 1 year old back, just to show me. Yeah. And so he came in, I met the baby and he left. I never saw him again.
Okay.
And made $3,600.
Well, if it's a transaction where everyone feels good about it, that might have been his revenge, and that's I spent it at a strip joint.
Yeah,
I spent all the money at the strip joint.
Yeah, I think
What about you've discussed a good person there. There would be some pigs there as well. I would imagine.
You mean?
Yeah. Well, there's probably
No, there was nasty girls, but there wasn't any bad girls. Not really, because we had security guards.
Right.
So the security guards, if anybody started playing up.
Yeah.
And this is, remember that Hawaii is the military base in the Pacific.
Yeah.
So the grunts, as we call them,
on
the 15th and the 30th of each month get paid.
Okay.
And they all come out.
Yeah.
Any of them play up. And they're the ones that will play up.
Yeah.
Any of them play up. And our security guards were big Samoans.
Yeah, they're not small dudes, are they?
You don't play around with them.
Yeah.
So all in all, there's no time I can remember working there that I had any problems. Marge and I had a falling out over something, I can't even remember what, and I went to the competition, which didn't have the same reputation, and all of the bad boys went there.
Okay. Because there was a gangster element in Hawaii.
Oh, 100%. And there was like the Samoan gangs, and there was the white American gangs. You know, I mean,
it was a cocktail too.
Yeah.
And as you said, like a military base, and then the hard ass Hawaiian surfers. Potentially heavy place.
People. Yeah.
So 4 years, you got through your nursing, and you started working in intensive care units.
Yeah, I started working after 2 years in Hawaii. In Hawaii, in America, you can do an associate degree, or you do your bachelor's.
Right.
Here is only I don't know how long it is.
For
it's either
nursing,
3, it's either 3 or 4 years. Don't know, but over there it's 2 years or 4 years.
Yep.
Associate degree, you can have all your life, not even worry about doing a bachelor's. And you're still a registered nurse. Yeah. So I did the associate degree, and I started working at the same time as doing part-time, doing my bachelor's, right? Still working. Quit stripping, went to do nursing with an associate degree, still doing college, but only like 2 days a week.
Right.
Because I wasn't going to burn myself out. And started working in intensive care. I started working nursing, and then thought I just really want to do intensive care. So you do, I think it was like a 3-month course within the hospital that you work in. And we were like a class of girls, you know what I mean? There's classes that went through together, and started working in intensive care.
How'd you find that? Because people often say, like, I was a homicide detective for a long time, and how did you handle what you saw and did as a homicide detective? But intensive care unit, that's, to me, that's more confronting than homicide.
Yeah, no. I loved it. I loved it. I could, other than emergency, I couldn't imagine doing any other kind of nursing.
Yeah.
Because the boring stuff.
You don't do boring, do you?
No, I don't. I can't. You know, like I nursed Bette Midler's father.
Oh, right. Okay.
Which was a really big deal.
Yeah.
So and when it got boring, I didn't nurse him anymore. So he went downstairs. But he was actually quite boring. It was actually quite boring when he was with us as well. Because what happens is when you're on days off, I don't know what they do here, but when you're on days off, when you come back from days off, you sit at the monitors. Yeah. So in every intensive care unit, you'll see a desk of
bank
monitors.
Of monitors,
right? You sit there because you're getting back into work, right? Don't slam you with a AAA bypass, you know?
Oh, okay.
So they just get you to sit at the monitors. Anyway, so you take the phone calls, you do the EKGs, all that kind of stuff, or ECGs, as you say. Anyway, and I'm sitting there, it's like 9 o'clock at night, and they're all separate rooms, all glassed off rooms. And I see this name on the monitors, Midler. Yeah. I'm thinking, oh, yeah, right, whatever. And about 9 o'clock at night, this phone call comes through, and there's this voice. Yeah. And I was a Bette Midler fan, like I'm talking fan. Yeah. And I said, Kaiser ICU, how may I help you? And she said, hi, it's Bette here.
You'd know a voice.
Yeah. And she said, my father, I can't remember his first name, Midler is in there with a heart attack, and I just want to know how he's doing. And I lost it. And I said, Miss Midler, he's doing as well as can be expected under the circumstances, which is the line, right? Yeah. But he's doing fine. And she said, okay, could you let him know I'll be there tomorrow? Yeah. And I was like, okay. And I got up from the desk and I went, oh, my God, I was just talking to Bette Midler. And so when my head nurse came in the next morning, I was on I think I was on the 2 till 10 or whatever. I came in and I said to her, okay, Grace, I want to look after Midler. I don't want to look after, even though it's only, she goes, it's only a heart attack. I said, then give me 3 heart attacks. I'm fine.
You're
I want
to
be, yeah. And so she came in, Bette Midler came in. I got to look after him. And with heart attack victims, you have to treat them like there's nothing wrong with them, because every heart attack victim feels like it's the end. It's like, oh my God, I had a heart attack. Yeah. It's just, it's the worst. And there's a person over here who's had a AAA bypass or a double lung transplant.
You survived the heart attack.
You're okay. And so you've got to get them up. You've got to joke around with them. You've got to get them moving. You've got to get them talking. Yeah. Something about anything other than their heart. So that's what I was doing. Bette Midler came in with her then new husband, who she's still married to, and I was joking around with her father, and I'm going, get the F up, you've got to do this, you've got to do that. And she said to me, Corinne, that's my father you're speaking to. And I said, yeah, Bette, I'm not you.
Yeah.
I've got to get him up.
Stir him
Anyway, she stayed for a couple of hours, and then she turned around to me and she goes, I just wanted to tell you, Corinne, Class A act. I said, thanks, Bet, I learned it all from you. That was probably the highlight of my life.
Was that?
And then I was the person who didn't get the autograph. I didn't get an autograph.
No, you're too cool.
I know, I was too cool.
Yeah, I know. People miss out on opportunities because you're too cool. But that was around the time she had that movie out, The Rose, which was huge.
It probably would be around then. Yeah,
she was a big thing in those days.
Yeah.
Okay, so cocaine got hold of you.
Yeah.
Got hold of you in that you couldn't function without it? Like, what was your...
Got hold of me like I thought I couldn't function without it. And so I thought I couldn't survive without it. And then I was working with a nurse who I wasn't into it, she was. And in nursing, you have to have two people sign off on morphine or any of the big drugs, right? So she was into speedballing.
Right.
So it was her and I would sign out the morphine.
Yeah.
And then once she'd used the morphine once, she had to throw the rest away. And her and I would sign out that she'd thrown it away into her pocket.
Yep.
So for her to do that, she had to have cocaine.
Right.
I had the dealer.
Okay. So you get to that point where you realise that, or you thought, and you're saying it's psychological, so you've had the highs, you're coming down and you think, I need a hit of cocaine to just survive?
Don't think I ever got to that point. Yeah. I can't say that I did because I wouldn't find myself going out while I was taking it, yes. Yeah. And when I kind of felt like that was when I was working on it. Mm. And I remember one time one of the head nurses, because I sounded all blocked up all the time, one of the head nurses, I had got a phone call from the dealer and she said, this girl said to me, Corinne, there's a guy on the phone with the same cold that you've got.
Okay, so she was awake up to it.
Yeah, so they knew. And that was kind of my wake-up call for a couple of months. Yeah. And I straightened up for a couple of months. But I always went back to it. And I started hitting it. You know, there was like a couple of years that I was hitting it, which was like you didn't have to worry about doing this all the time, you know. And because I was a nurse, I knew what I was doing and stuff like that.
Did that give you confidence, like playing with the drugs, or not playing, using the drugs at your medical background? You felt that I know my limits. I know how to.
Well, you don't. You kind of think you know your limits.
You think
but you don't know your limits.
Right.
But I felt confident in putting a syringe in my arm. Yeah. Because I knew what I was doing. Yeah. You know. Okay. And a lot of people came to me to put a syringe in their arm. Yeah. You know, because it was just an easier way to do it.
When you were nursing too, that's when AIDS started to come in. Was that over in Hawaii? What was that like? Did people understand what was going on?
Yeah, I was working. So as well as working in ICU, I used to, because of my cocaine addiction, because I needed the extra money, because I didn't want to go back to stripping at this time. Yeah. Right. And I'm still in college, so I'm juggling a lot of balls in the air. Mm. I worked at another hospital just as a relief nurse, right? Yeah. And this hospital had the first case of, well, there was no name to it, of this virus came in. And he was a 19-year-old kid. Yep. He'd been on holiday in Maui and he got really bad kidney pains. Yep. So there'd been whispers in New York and San Francisco of this virus that was going around, still with no name. Yeah. Because Reagan didn't want to name it. Nobody wanted to know about it. And we got this kid in. He died within, I think, 2 days. Right. Because they had no clue the virus had gone through his body. And he'd only had 2 sexual encounters. Right. And he'd got it through whatever. Because the main guy who started it, was an airline steward in New York. He used to go to the bathhouses in San Francisco, and the airline stewards in San Francisco used to come to Hawaii and go to the bathhouses. It was a straight through thing. Yeah. And I remember when it first started, we used to close the doors on them. Yeah. They all had private rooms, and we used to have to mask up like hazmat. We used to have to mask up, and the guys or the people who delivered the food would stand at the door and push the tray towards them.
Because that was the fear associated with it at the time, wasn't it?
It was worse than... If you could put COVID on steroids, that's what it was like. because COVID had a name.
Yeah.
AIDS didn't even have a name, and there was no such thing as being HIV positive versus AIDS.
Yeah.
You had AIDS.
Yeah.
You had autoimmune
just
deficiency
don't,
syndrome.
Don't touch a glass that someone's touched.
Don't do anything.
Yeah.
Don't go anywhere near. Don't breathe the same air.
Yeah.
Ryan White was the poster child for it. A kid who was kicked out of every school that was known in one of the states.
It was brutal, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible. It was a terrible time. But it's sort of, for people who were around, like my best friend died last year.
Yeah.
And he was a 38-year survivor of HIV.
Right.
And he didn't die of AIDS. He didn't die of anything really. He died of cancer undiagnosed. Oh, don't even go there. Anyway, we were brought up just to know what to do in cases. So when COVID came along, Jason and I were pretty comfortable because it was kind of like we were going back to when AIDS started and what we used to do then, and it was like masks, gloves,
That was the thing.
And people who didn't wear masks in COVID, I have the wrath of Corinne on you.
Yeah, you went after him?
Oh,
You're a big mask believer?
Oh, and vaccine, don't even go there without vaccines.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, and that was from your experience?
100%.
Watching 100%. What happened.
And I lost 40 friends to AIDS. Okay. 40 friends. And so therefore, I didn't lose that many with COVID because people were getting vaccinated, because people were wearing masks, and because COVID had a name.
People understood it.
People understood it.
And not as much of a stigma either, I would suggest, too. Cause
with COVID?
AIDS had the stigma attached to it.
AIDS had a terrible stigma.
Yeah.
Oh, it was... I mean, you couldn't go... You couldn't go into a nightclub. Like I used to hang around the gay nightclubs, right, with Mark. And one of the big ones in Hawaii was Hula's. And I remember one time, this guy who worked there, Mark went up to him and goes, "Oh, my God, you've lost some weight." He goes, "No, I haven't. I haven't lost a pound. I've been working out, haven't lost a pound."
Yeah, because that would have been
it was like, oh, my God.
No, he's got it. Yeah, strange, horrible time, but strange time as well. You left nursing and then you started working on a cruise liner.
Yeah.
That sounded like a happy time for you?
It was the best time.
What was your role there?
I was a waitress, cocktail waitress.
Right.
And then, so I was cocktail waitress and then I worked as a waiter.
Yeah.
So, you do the dinners, the breakfast, lunch dinners and midnight buffet. You can't get a better job than doing 7-day cruises around the Hawaiian Islands. And I'm telling you now.
Okay, it sounds idyllic.
Amazing.
You were supplementing your income, but at that point in time, you were dealing the
That's
drugs.
How I got on.
Was the progression into using dealing? Was that the natural progression? Because I hear it a lot of times, and people don't even realise they're dealing. They're just giving drugs to their friends, and all of a sudden.
Well, so my dealer's name was Victor.
Yeah.
And Victor and I knew this guy.
Yep.
I was nursing. I was dealing for Victor.
Yeah.
And Victor said, "There's a guy who wants to buy from us." Because he was dealing. He was buying from us enough to deal on the ships.
Right.
So he said, "Why don't you get on the ships and you can be dealing too?" And that's what happened.
Okay. And the dealing on, drugs back then, it was like there's a lot of protections now of stopping that type of stuff, but it was pretty easy back then.
What do you mean, to get on the ship?
In like law enforcement, like getting through stuff. People weren't aware of it, so it was very...
No. Well, the thing was, everybody from the captain down on the ship was doing coke. This is the 80s.
Yeah.
This is like greed is good. This is like, those movies with Martin Sheen that, glorified money and glorified coke and whatever.
Everybody's doing it. Everyone's happy.
Nobody cared.
Wasn't the stigma
and
attached to it?
There was no security guard checking your bags when you went back on the ship.
Well, cocaine, like it's Studio 54, that type of stuff. It was that's what the trendy people did.
You just walked in.
Yeah.
That's all. I mean, it'd be weird not to find somebody without coke.
Yeah.
That was the thing, you know, like when I was in New York, we were visiting and I went to Studio 54, which was kind of like, they kind of make it into this thing that it really wasn't. It was like a lot of people went there, yes. It was hard to get in, yes. We just happened to know a hairdresser to the stars.
Yeah.
And so we got in and it was cool, or it was okay. But I mean, I had a good life back in Hawaii, so it didn't really matter. But we also went to this party that was in a place called Bonds International Casino, and it was just new.
Yeah.
And it was a massive warehouse. And they had, so this is going right back. So first of all, Mark and I were really good dancers, right? As a couple, we were really good dancers.
Even if you say so
even
yourself.
Even if I say so myself. But so everybody was watching us dance, and everybody's just doing bumps of coke while you're watching.
Yeah.
And they had these stairs that made a tune. Now this is before that movie with Tom Hanks came out, where they do the thing in FAO Schwartz, where this was before that, and was on the stairs were a piano, and they had Zeppelins flying around, and Grace Jones was the entertainment.
Wow.
That
is a party
compared to Studio 54 was a party.
Yeah.
That was amazing, you know.
Okay, well, you were definitely living the good life. We might take a break here.
Okay.
When we get back, we're going to have to bring you down a notch because you've got to do some time in prison. You've got to pay for your sins.
Yeah, that's
We're
right.
also going to talk about your career, your later career as managing the brothels and different things. So, fascinating story. I love the way you tell it. There's 1,000 things I want to ask you as you're talking through it. But you're taking us into a world that a lot of people don't get to see. So
well, yeah, and it's a shame because when I talk to people, they're always like, "Oh my God," and I'm like, "Go and live. Just go and live.
Living life." Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll be back shortly, but I'll just prepare you that you've got to do some time.
Yeah. Okay. No problem.
All right. Cheers.